Oh, boo! Oh, did I scare you? I bet I did. And that's not because I'm black, obviously, but that's because I am the Path of Exile 2 Vision. That's right, the Vision! Oh, yes, people are once again kinda unhappy with what's happening in Path of Exile 2. Now, granted, if you know my opinion, you know that it's if you're not happy with Path of Exile 2 being different from Path of Exile 1, you can literally go and play Path of Exile 1. That's the reason why it's getting still a big update, filled with content and possibilities and everything. Because those are two separate games, okay? But Path of Exile 2 is making a lot of people unhappy. Is it worse than Diablo 4? No, nothing's worse than Diablo 4. But arguably, it's having a bigger player drop off. That's because Diablo 4 is massively botted, by the way, if you did not know. Because some people are actually saying, oh, look at Diablo 4's numbers on Steam. They're so good. Yes, because it's botted. Diablo 4 is uniquely botted at this point. It's pretty much like 100 bots for one active player, as far as I can tell. But in any case, Path of Exile 2 once again is well, it's having some issues. And personally, let me explain Path of Exile 2 for you, if you do not know. Do you know the super hardcore mode in Path of Exile 1? Yeah, that one where the drops are lower, the everything is lower, the enemies are tougher, and yeah, that one. If you don't like that, you probably will not like Path of Exile 2 currently. So that is a thing. Now, granted, play it enough and all of these issues go away. But if you think that you can do the, oh, I'm a dad, I work 5 jobs, I have 2 wives, 5 stepchildren, and an addiction issue or 5, well, you're not gonna probably have that much fun in the game. You can still, but that's granted if you have actual morals and a constitution for good things.
Okay, anyway, we know PoE 2 has a content problem, okay? Especially in the end game. The developers are addressing this in 0.5. However, they decided to focus a lot on shipping leagues in PoE 2. And last league, Rise of the Abyssal, great league. Awesome mechanics added throughout. You got your crafting, you got your bosses, you got your in-map encounter, you got your meta progress, all this stuff. Excellent. Great loop, great addition to endgame, even though the endgame hadn't changed from 0.1 really. You got Fate of the Val in 0.4, and this might sound hyperbolic, but in this initial implementation, it might be the only league mechanic in the history of either Path of Exile game that I've decided to just not interact with in the slightest. Not touching it, not having fun, and there's a variety of reasons why. Now, I will note that Grinding Gear Games are likely going to release a patch very soon, or at least a what we're working on post for Fate of the Val, and they'll likely make...
Well, obviously they're gonna release some kind of patch, because when people complain in general, that means that stuff's gonna change. Now, granted, again, they're not gonna change Path of Exile 2 hugely, but they will probably change it so it's a little bit lighter. Because if you haven't figured out Path of Exile 1, for example, the only difference between a good league and a bad league, unless it's Lake of Kalandra, I guess, which I personally enjoyed. It's probably my third, fourth, maybe favorite league of all time. I'm built different, deal with it. But in any case, if every league that has ever been bad in the history of Path of Exile 1 has become absolutely amazing the moment that they just juice up the drops by, I don't know, like 200% or something. The moment that happens, it's just good. Because Path of Exile 1 is, well, easy scape, essentially. It's RunScape 3, okay? Everything for you is granted for free. That's how the game is designed to work, okay? And Path of Exile players... Don't even try to be in the comments. Oh no, don't do anything. Path of Exile 1's actually really hard. I can close my eyes, look up a Path of Exile 1 guide for anything, blindly follow it, and fuck the end game like there's no tomorrow. You can't tell me a game like that is hard, okay? If I have literally, I can shut my brain off, follow a guide, and it's gonna do everything for me, and I'm gonna have no issues. That's just the game, okay? Stop being an elitist.
This mechanic a lot better. They're probably going to address some, if not all, the concerns I have here. However, I still think it's worthwhile to voice these so that hopefully in the future, Grinding Gear Games doesn't make these mistakes with league mechanics or design decisions or just the choice to pursue a piece of content like this. So, what exactly am I talking about here? Well, Fate of the Val has a few problems, okay?
Okay.
Problem number one is in the campaign initially, man, it hooks you. It hooks you good. It is rewarding. You are going into the temple. You are getting rewards in the temple. You're getting the crafting benches, whether it's an Exalt bench, whether it's a Regal bench, whether it's a quality bench that boosts one of your items up to 16 or 20% quality in Act 1. It feels good. In the map encounters as well, you are getting rewards from clearing the little pads. Whether it's a boss, a few waves, or just a pack of monsters sitting on top it like a shrine, you get currency rewards or gem rewards very early on. And that's great. That's where it ends. Everything past Act 3 is really where I noticed it drop.
Oh no, Path of Exile dead.
Off. The temple begins
Oh no, wait, no, this is Path of Exile. Path of Exile 2 dead.
To feel horrible. And this is what I mean. One, building up the temple is poorly explained. In fact, I reckon it's not even explained at all. I'm confused. I guess I'm not the smartest player, but I hate if I feel like I have to go out of game to get a system explained to me by a YouTuber, by a content creator, by a...
LOL. Okay, I'm gonna share the screen for the Path of Exile through SteamDB. 70% positive like ratio because it's not a zoomer fiesta like Path of Exile 1. Disgusting. 150k people currently playing, and the release was on the 12th of September. Okay, we have this 0.3, which peaked at 350k, and actually, you know, well, actually, it's 6 days, and then it got a drop. It's fine. Then we have Dawn of the Hunt, you know, new classes and whatnot. 246k. So this one's an uptick. This one was a more massive uptick. And the release was almost 600k. 578k. And this got slightly more than half of the players coming back. These are extremely good numbers, okay? So everyone who's saying, oh, Patrick, blah, 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 dead. No, it's not. Look at this. So, the 12th. This is the release. 280. Okay, and now it's literally 7 days later, and this is a drop of less than 50%. That is a good drop off. That is not bad. Some games literally die day 2. This Diablo 4 dies hour 2. Okay, it doesn't even take a day for a league to end. But look at this. Look at this. This doesn't. The free weekend popped off. It's still going hard. It's still going hard, boys. This is good stuff. So everyone who's complaining about Path of Exile 2 not being good, look at this. 7 days. Let's get 7 days here. 30. So it's like roughly here. Okay, that's a way less drop off. That's actually insanely small drop off. But you still get the point. All of this loss of players is good. Okay, we're not talking about this right here where it's like 7k minimum players. All of these numbers are good. The only sad thing is the negative dislikes. I personally feel it's unwarranted, but listen. If you want Path of Exile to be Path of Exile 1, I may disagree with you on that. I think Path of Exile 2 should be its own game. It should be slow. It should be more methodical. I like that. That is the type of game I enjoy the most. But if you dislike because Path of Exile 2 is not Path of Exile 1, at the end of the day, you have the full right to dislike that because that's your opinion, and you're not wrong for having it. I'm not wrong for saying Path of Exile 2 should be different. You're not wrong for saying Path of Exile 2 should be Path of Exile 1, but 2. Because these are just, well, very basic opinions, honestly, and that's pretty much it.
Written guide. And I have very rarely thought that in PoE 1 or PoE 2 or any other games. I'm not one who goes and says, I need a guide on this right now. I don't follow build guides. I make my own builds. I do that with all the content in game too. I don't think I've ever done that for a mechanic in PoE 1. I know you might laugh at that, but I figured that stuff out myself or just chose to not understand it fully. And then in PoE 2, there's been nothing really like that, unless you count looking up modifiers for the Lich mods, seeing the list of mods that a certain bone can roll. I did that in Rise of the Abyssal. But this mechanic is not explained, and it's so frustrating to deal with. You can have all of these consequences for placing rooms in the incorrect order, for placing rooms at all. It requires such a large time investment to build up your temple, and you don't get anything from it. Even if you're setting it up right, I haven't seen it, and I think I am.
I haven't paid attention what people are saying about this league. I'm not playing, by the way, but I have seen some clips, and are people actually complaining about the temple and how you're supposed to make it and do the layouts and stuff? It's probably a little bit counterintuitive, the fact that you sometimes can't, well, not sometimes, but the fact that you can't get all the rooms. But, I mean,
Maybe. I'm upgrading rooms to tier 3, but I'm not getting really any rewards. I don't know if it's bugged. I don't know what's going on, but you will clear a room in the temple, and it will say room completed, and you'll get nothing. And this will happen temple after temple after temple until eventually you ask yourself, why am I doing this? Like, there's nothing novel here. I'm not getting anything interesting. I'm not getting any upgrades here. The monsters are the same as the monsters that I would fight in any random waystone. Why am I going here? Yes, it's beautiful. Yes, the design itself is great. Yeah, the presentation is good visually, but the actual gameplay, the actual interface, the UI, the UX, all of it is just poorly explained and poorly designed. And it frustrates me to no end, especially because it's also baked in with not being rewarding and not having any clear goal. You'd think that the goal would be to kill Atziri, right? Or to fight Atziri. I don't think we kill Atziri.
You know what's frustrating? Looking at this and seeing that this pattern right here is the same as this pattern right here, and the same as this pattern right here, and it's not even actually rotated. That's frustrating.
Technically. Well, I am unhappy to report that after this weekend, if I was really enjoying the league, my playtime would still drop substantially. I'd play a lot this league, you know, because I am creating content on it. I booked a little bit of time off. I let my wife know, of course, we're gonna focus on this. Well, to fight Atziri, I've seen some.
What do you mean? You let your wife know that you're gonna that they are gonna focus on this? Is she a mule?
People take 40 plus hours and you get one attempt at it, Zeri. Right. That's absolutely insane to me.
Based.
Mainstay, pinnacle feature, and it's RNG to get to her, and it might take that long for one opportunity to interact with this legendary lore encounter, this, I suppose, aspirational piece of content. I'm not going to get to fight Atziri. I guess I'm going to have to watch a YouTube video on it.
Listen, okay? If you want to get to her, just fucking grind it out. That's the whole point of Path of Exile, too. If you want to get something rare, it's gonna take effort. That's how it feels good. Remember when the Path of Exile 1, the Starforged sword was first announced, or what was its name? I already forgot from the Shaper, Pather, Devolver. Well, whatever the fuck was his name? I already have forgotten. Remember that? That was an item that not everyone had, and it was pretty cool. That was literally building Ballbrink. It was cool, okay, and it lost its luster when it was farmable by everyone. That's how the game goes. That's how the game is. The more you keep things rare, the more you need to actually put in effort to get the Zeri kills. The more a Zeri has like 1 in a billion drop chance items, the better the game is in general. This is how it was made. If you're complaining about this, you don't understand what Path of Exile 2 is supposed to be. Unironically, Division.
That sucks. I feel like that should be Uber at Zeri, not the regular encounter in the league. Perhaps they want to lock behind the, the cool story content, the cool boss fight behind a long grind. If that's intentional, that sucks, and I greatly dislike that type of design. Basically locking your access to content behind RNG and time investment. It's the same thing with the Arbiter of Ash. Nothing changed there. Everything is still random. I'm still getting comments about people not finding citadels at level 93, 94. Yes, they looked for the burning citadel. Yes, they are going far out from the center and they're not finding anything. It's just poor design. It's poor design, and it's been brought up since 0.1, including by myself. So there's all these problems with Fate of the Vow, right? And Fate of the Vow was pitched as a big endgame supplement. And that's what leagues are supposed to do in Path of Exile 1 or Path of Exile 2. Even if the endgame isn't finished, it still serves as a big surge of new cool content, right? That's what we're promised. That's what we expect. And that is not what happened with this league. That's not. If they tested this in endgame, I would be shocked. It feels good in the campaign, and then it falls off entirely. I don't even get reward benches. And most of the reward benches, you know what they deal with? They deal with corruption, which requires you to have, just in case you corrupt an item and it bricks it, it requires you to have a secondary good item to fill in your slot. And as we talked about, my point number.
Yes, corruption is supposed to be a risky thing. That's why it's called corruption. This is what always fascinates me about the conversation about the negativity, the unappeasement of how Path of Exile 2 is supposed to be, how it's supposed to be played. It's it's like all it's like oh, it's like classic World of Warcraft, but not now, but 20 years ago. Okay? When people raided in pirate hats and killing Ragnaros was a big deal, and someone just sitting outside of the bank with that item was with a rare drop was like, whoa! That's what Path of Exile 2 is. Okay? If you vendor your weapon and you have no replacement, you're supposed to get punished. That's the system working as intended.
One, no luck this league. I just have to buy upgrades. I can't craft upgrades. I'm not getting any luck, and it just feels bad, and that could just be an outlier situation, but it's the situation that I am in. So we had Druid introduced, W except the bugs. Those will be fixed, all right? Awesome. Fate of the Vow introduced, big L right now. Not enjoying it at all. I don't see it as an endgame supplement, and I can see them changing the way it works, boosting the rewards and stuff like that. But I'm just not a fan of the whole design. I think that if PoE 2 was 3 years older and it had a good foundation to the base game, it had a good campaign like it does now, a good end game, and a suite of other mechanics, and they added Fate of the Vow, and it was in this state, it would not nearly be as bad, in my opinion. But because it combines all together with the rest, this is the thing that they decided to add this mini game that is confusing. It's not explained. It's not rewarding. It's not really any different type of content. And there's very little else in the game, and the core fundamental endgame loop is bad. Then it compounds, and you get me being very heated, I feel like, in a video and frustrated a few days in, faster than ever before. So those were the two big content additions, right? Of course, there were a bunch of balance changes. We'll see how that settles out. But there were also performance improvements. That was a big pitch of the league. So how has performance improved for all of you? I can speak from my experience My frames are better, and I have crashed more, freezed up more, encountered more bugs with the game itself in this patch. In these, let's see how long
Okay, well, bugs are unacceptable, obviously, and whatnot.
I've played what, probably 15 hours? Okay, 17 hours, 9 minutes, and then another hour and a half on the campaign. In these about 20 hours of play, then in all...
That's literally nothing! Especially for a YouTuber, by the way. Yes, this is casual Andy complaining that he's not max level when he started the game. Dude, I'm a casual. I play like maybe Path of Exile, maybe like 2 hours a session. So you're telling me this dude has played casual fucking hours since the launch of the league, and he's like, I'm not getting too many rewards. Me sad. Please fix. Like, what is this? This is casual hours. Bro, if you're... Damn. Damn.
The rest of my...
This better be his 17th character with fucking 20 hours on playtime. Otherwise, this is just opinion ignored. Oof.
PV2 experience that probably totals to about 250, 300 hours on my other characters. Buggy patch. So are other people experiencing this, or is it just me? And with the limited time that I have available, I don't want to spend it playing a game that I, one, don't find fun, and two, it is very buggy right now. So I'm calling this, it's a bad release. The druid character...
Okay, people defending the bugs. I don't actually know if anyone's defending the bugs. I have not heard that, but, you know, still.
Everything. I'd give it a 4, I think a 4 out of 10. A 4 out of 10. 9
Well, fair. You know, at the end of the day, that is his opinion. If he feels like that, it is what it is. You can't really complain. You can't really say anything negative about that. Anyway, that was Talkative 3, 10 out of 10. Oh, bye!